Hi y'all, welcome to Twisted Zigzag. I'm trying to figure, there it goes. Today's memory verse is, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Matthew 5:6. I'll figure it out sooner or later. So today, the motivation is that, you're not tied to whatever you was raised in your past. You're not tied to that. That's your testimony, but you're not tied to it. You're able to be a different person today than you were yesterday. Now, it took me a little bit longer to realize that. And after talking to these two ladies, these two young ladies, who they're chasing after, I don't know what they're chasing, worldly stuff, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're chasing after the worldly stuff and the worldly flesh, and they think that that's what's going to fill them, and it's not. They have no structure at home. They have only, hey, let's go and party, let's go do whatever we want, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to live up to a name that destroys property kind of thing, and it's like, that's the name that you want to live up to? Like, you don't want to make your own name. You don't want to make your own path. Don't want to think about think for yourself. Like, okay, cool. I try to, show them a godly love and a better way to do that. But I can understand where they're coming from. I understand that this is their testimony, and all I can do basically is pray for them and give them to God. And that's what I have done. But it also got me to thinking about this. I rearranged my whole entire art room yesterday, and I found some where I started from with this game, and it got me to thinking about how they are right now, and how I am right now, and how I was in the past. I was not raised in a godly household. I went to church. That's because this wonderful, lovely lady had invited me and my brother to VBS. I begged my mother. But in order for me to be able to go, he had to go. Just like being baptized. I wanted to be baptized. He had to be baptized too. So getting him on the same, page as me was just it. I'd done a lot of, hey, can you do this? I think I ended up doing his chores for a month in order for him to, go. So, because I really wanted to be baptized. But that's the household that I lived in. My mother was so negative, especially toward me, that motivating me to do anything was just, like, you go and tell her your plans, and she would squash it. Like, I can remember being a little kid and believing in true love, and she squashed that. Like, she just like, no, that was not happening. I wanted stuff to do with art. That was not happening either. Now, mind you, like, if I did do something good, she's like, oh, that's cool, da-da-da-da. And that was it. That was the only motivation I got from that woman. But you let somebody outside try to motivate me to do something, and I'd be so excited. I'm like, Mom, look. And that woman will go off. That's not your parent. I'm your parent. Well, somebody's got to motivate me to do, other than, destroy property. Just saying. But that was the household that I lived in. I lived in a very negative household that I'd go around saying that I was poorer than poor. I was underneath the floorboards, and people were like, stop saying that. Well, it's true. When you look down and you see the hole and you see the ground, come on now. But as an adult, I realized that's not me. That's my testimony. That's where I came from. I am no longer bound to that. That motivates me to have a roof over my head, to have food in my refrigerator, and to be able to cook. I love cooking. I like that too. And I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to pay to get that. And I'm thankful every day that the Lord blessed me with the mindset that I have, the ability to get into my car to go to work. God blessed me with that. He also blessed me with the way and know-how to build a game that I never thought that I can do. And then I now can sit there and learn how. I'm currently looking at a whole bunch of paintbrushes that I bought so that way I can paint on these. Okay? That's amazing to me. I sit there and I took out these to work with me one day. Because we had time where sometimes, we can sit there and just play a game and stuff like that. Like we had just like a, lazy day or whatever. Nothing really was going on. So I took this out. If you know these boards, you know that they're Macalas. And so I sit there and I took these out there, and this person was like, if it was a little bit more interesting, then I'll play it. So I went inside, took markers and drew on it, brought it back out and was like, how about now? And I was talking about maybe zigzagging on the board, doing this. And she was like, you're onto something. Keep going. The fact that she said, you're onto something, keep going. I've never heard keep going and you're onto something in the same sentence. Ever. Never. That was the first time, and that motivated me so hard to continue to go. So I went and I painted these boards. And the next time I brought them out, I had a more subtle way of doing it. I had, I wrote down some, ideas. And then they kept saying, the people that was playing it kept saying that they wished it was multiple players. And I'm like, well, I don't have the money to go get more boards. So a friend volunteered to make me some scrap boards. So that way I have, boards that I can work on and I can see where it goes. And so I was writing down their ideas on what they wanted for a game. I've never been even this far, even to know the fact that you could do this. I gave up on this game and because I couldn't figure out how to do 4 players. And I'm like, that was a major thing that they wanted was 4 players, and I couldn't figure it out. It took a few years to get back into it because I went through, life happens or whatever. It wasn't until I was talking to my now significant other, we was talking about God, and we was talking about how he could move mountains, he could do whatever he wants. And that, we as his children follow his footsteps, and we are not who we are, who the world defines us to be. And then all of a sudden it just clicked because I referred to the boards as I never thought that I can, be painting those boards, and I'm excited, I'm gonna get them back out and I'm gonna paint them. And then it clicked in my head on how to get from one set of boards to another and be able to work all your way around. And I'm like, that's it. God opened my brain and he placed it in there. And I'm like, yes, that's it. So, my scrap piece of paper I brought back out, and I'm like, I don't know what I did. So, I did this. This right here is what I drew up. Okay? Even had a little diagram on the back. If you go to Facebook, and one of the pinned videos is my instruction video, and it had these. I need to update that. I had a working board, and I also now had a working thing. So we went to Lowe's, got boards, and we made these boards. Now, instead of cutting them to fit like that, we left it alone, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just paint these, and, when I get off work, I'll figure it out. But then the next set of ideas came. they're like, we like this, but can you make the board wider? And I'm sitting there going, we ran out of time, and I have boards at home that is wide. God made that possible. He made it possible that I wouldn't cut these boards to fit these. So we made them so we made it to the point where now, I'm like, that's awesome. I still had this right here, okay? And I had this. Well, one of the people that has played on the original boards suggested somebody else. Hey, they might be able to help you on the rules, to help you figure out what's going on there. That person led me to Word. Those group of people led me to Word to do this. And they're like, hey, if you put like pictures on there, like of your actual board, and you put it to something like this, that would be more eye-catching, because they play a lot of games. They, when they do game nights, they do all this kind of stuff, and they're like, do something like that. And they even showed me, they're like, they brought up a picture, like Sorry, I think it was. And I'm like, I might be able to do that. I'm like, I don't know nothing about, I don't know anything about that. But they like, we know you can. So I went back and I was figuring it out. And this is what I came up with. The first one had all of this basically up here. Kind of like, I don't know where that one went. But, so I was like, I kept looking at that. I'm like, I could do better. I could add better. I could do whatever. And I kept focusing on it. And I kept praying to God. I was like, God, please show me. You put this in my head for a reason. Please help me finish it. Then it came to this. Right here. Where we are today. It has everything in there. From the patent. I even called the patent office, okay? Before I did this. Well, I think it was like after I did this. Because I had one that was just like that, but it didn't have the patent on it. I called the patent office just to see what was going on. Because people kept saying to me, like, hey, you might want to get that patent. And I'm like, it's just a game. Like, it was somebody that I did it. I was like, surely not. Like, it's just a game. So I called the patent, and the next thing I knew, I was patenting it. Because they did a soft search. Because they were like, hey, let's do a soft search, we'll go from there. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do a soft search. So I did a soft search. And then they're like, next thing I know, I'm putting a patent on it. Yes, I haven't finished the marketing part of it. But, again, life happens. God gave me a game that somebody like me can actually do. Coming from the past that I came from, where you can literally see through the hole, through the floor, to the ground, has a working game. You are not defined about who you are. The only person that you are defined, that is going to be your biggest critic is yourself. The biggest person that I had to get over and to sit there and get away from the negativity was myself. I had to, and I still have to, tell myself I am no longer that skinny little kid in whatever rent trailer that we were in. Listening to a mother that's saying that nobody's going to parent her kid. No one's going to do it. If anybody's going to do it, I am. You are no longer that person. You are a person of God. You were a person of God back then. You was a child of God now. God carried me through all of that. And yes, on shaky faith, just like everything else, especially when you're young and you're just like, okay, well, I got my whole life ahead of me. I could do all this. And you're just like, you bounce back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you're just like, but the thing is I did not think that I didn't fully believe that he can sit there and get me through a tough time in my life. I didn't think he could. I didn't think he can give somebody like me the tools to do these games. Did not think he could do that. I was mistaken. Because I took the paintbrush from the master. And I hit it and I had it and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to paint. You stay over there. Which is funny because I didn't know how to paint. I still don't know how to paint, but yet I'm trusting in God that he will help me get through all of this. I am now relying on God that he is going to sit there and he's going to be, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm not defined by who my past is. I'm not defined by that person. I'm not defined by the evil person that was constantly being negative toward me. I'm not her. No matter how many times someone says, oh, well, you sometimes sound like her. Well, I was raised in the same household, so yeah, of course. Yeah, there might be some similarities. I get it. I had to come to terms with that too. I am not fully her. I'm not relying on somebody else to get me through. I'm relying on God. The man that literally went to send his son to the earth to die on a cross for my sins, for me to be able to be saved. If I keep dwelling on who the person was back there, how am I going to ever go forward? I'm still going. If I keep tying myself there, just like these ladies that I was referring to, they're tying themselves to whoever their parents are, and that's not a good thing. Instead of motivating themselves to cut ties now, they're going to keep going. But I have to trust that God is going to be with them. God is going to help them and motivate them and is going to put people in their lives just like he did in mine with these board games. So with that being said, happy gaming and God bless.